Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to show you how to build an AI agent that can do market research for you. Now, this is part of a build that I did for a client of mine, a venture capital fund. And they get pitched by hundreds of startups every single day. And it's a lot of work for them to research the startup, understand the market they're in, find out all the competitors, figure out where the gaps are, and then determine if that is an investment worth making or if it's too crowded for this market. So I built them this AI agent that can do all of that and allows them to do the due diligence a lot faster. And so if you're in the VC industry or in any industry that requires some sort of market research, some sort of analysis, this AI agent is going to be really helpful for you. And I'm going to show you how you can create something where all you have to do is enter a URL of a company that you want to do market research for. And it comes up with this amazing summary or executive report with the target company overview, the market overview, the entire competitive landscape, details about all the competitors, and so on. So this is a massive report that it creates, and it's all part of this one simple AI agent workflow that I'm going to show you. Now, most of the heavy lifting here is going to be done by Parallel, which provides APIs for searching information on the web and extracting data for us. And it's purpose-built for AIs. So if you are looking for information to feed an AI agent or for AI agents to use and build upon, Parallel is a great product to be using. And I'm going to show you how exactly it works. So when you create an account with Parallel and you go into your dashboard, you're going to see a few of these APIs over here. As you can see, they have a search API. So if you give it a search query, what it does is it goes out and looks for information around that. And it's not just like a Google search. Basically, what it's doing is it's kind of adding a bit of semantic search to it. So it's allowing you to get content that is more meaningful to your query. And in our case, we want content that is meaningful to the market that we are trying to research. So I'm going to show you how that works when we get into the code. But we're going to be using the search API for that. And then we're going to use the extract API, which pulls content from our URL. So once we get back a bunch of URLs with search, we can then extract all the content from that into our database. And then we can do a bunch of transformations on all of that content using an AI again to understand the competitive data. All right, we'll dive right into the code. And as I explain the code, you can see how Parallel's APIs work. So here I've opened up Cursor and I've got my project. And the four key files here are, of course, the main Python file that we have, which orchestrates the entire AI agent. And then we've got our market discovery Python file, which helps us understand the entire market. We've got a competitor analysis Python file that does a full analysis of all the competitors. And then we've got the final report generation Python file that compiles all of this data into a report. So our first step here is the market discovery file. And what this is doing is it takes in the target startup URL. So when a startup submits their pitch to my VC client, what we do is we extract that URL and we pass it through this, right? And here you can see I've got, I'm setting up my Parallel AI API, and I'm extracting a bunch of stuff from that URL for the startup. And here, all I'm doing is passing a JSON object into the API. And so it's really cool because we don't need to figure out what that startup's website looks like and what data to go and select. All we're doing is telling Parallel's API, hey, here's the objective. Here's what I'm looking for. I want the name, product or service, all of this stuff. And we're asking Parallel's API to figure that out on its own. And so that's what it does. It actually just takes this JSON plain text information of here's the goal that we're trying to get to, and it goes to the website and it extracts the information that fits that goal. And so once we get that back, we can save that, and then we can extract that out into a sort of JSON as well. So I get all of it back. I use GPT 4.0 in this case, which is obviously an earlier model, but it's cheaper. And then I turn all of the data that I've got into a JSON file that I can now use in the rest of my process. Now, in the second half of this file, we are going to be searching for competitors. So we've got information about our primary startup that we are researching. And what we want to do is find companies that are similar to it or in the same category or same market. We already have a bunch of data around which category and which target market our company is in because we asked Parallel to do that for us. So we simply do the same thing again, except this time we're going to use Parallel's search API and we're going to give it, again, another search objective. And here we're just describing, here's what we want to do. We want to find blog articles comparing products and services similar to the description of our target company. And we want to focus on articles that talk about alternatives, best of X articles, comparison reviews, and so on and so forth. And so what we're doing here again is really just giving it a broad kind of, here's our objective. You go figure out what that search would look like and come back to me with 5 results. And I'm just doing 5 results here because this is a POC and, I don't want to do too many API calls. But you'll get back the best 5 results from that. Now, the reason I'm asking it to find articles or blog content, comparison blog posts, is because it's a lot of these blogs and websites have already done the research for us. So essentially what we're doing is piggybacking on their research to find out the startups that are closest in that space to the company that we are trying to invest in. Once we get back those URLs, what we do then is we simply go to those URLs and start to extract all of the data from it. So the search API basically uses our search objective, gets us a bunch of blog content that talks about all the competitors and different alternatives in that category that we're looking at. And then we have the extract API again going into each of those blog URLs, which are ostensibly listicles of all of the competitors that we're looking at, and then extracts all the company names as competitors. So again, all we do is we give it an objective. We say, hey, extract company names mentioned as competitors, alternatives, or players in the space that we're interested in, and get us the company name, brief description, and a website URL if it's mentioned. The final step here is to parse out all of that information again using GPT-4o. Get like a JSON object of all of these companies, the descriptions, and their domains. And then we just do a final round of verification here to see whether the domain, if it's a LinkedIn domain or Crunchbase domain, we sort of exclude those. We only want the actual URL of the company that the competitors. And we do another search API request with Parallel to find that company's URL if we don't have it. So it just goes out, gets the official website of that company, and gives us the actual URL. Now that we have a full list of all the competitor URLs in the space, we can go and get more information about every single one of those competitors to understand the market better. And again, we're going to use Parallel's extract API. So what we're going to do is just pass in our objective as before, and we say, hey, extract information about competitor name. We want all of the product offerings, the target market, customers, pricing, tech stack, all of it. Basically a bunch of things that the client cares about in this case, like the unique selling points, company size, and all of that. And we just have Parallel's API figure that out on its own. And so we loop through every single competitor we have using the Parallel extract API, get all of that information, and then again, using GPT-4o, we parse it out into a JSON file and store that as well. So far, we have a ton of information about the target startup that is pitched to VC and every single competitor in that space. And so from here, it's just a matter of using some prompting and GPT's APIs to really understand and create a comprehensive market analysis, competitive gaps, white spaces, positioning, and so on and so forth. Basically, whatever you want in that final report, use GPT's API to and some prompts to extract all of that data or to turn all of the data that you've got and collected so far into that report. And now the final step is our report generation. So we passed all of the data through GPT to get all of the fields that we wanted, like the white spaces, the competitive positioning, the market size, so on and so forth. And we just need to format that into the final report that you saw when I first showed you this video. And so again, we use GPT-4o to turn all of that into basically a readable report that could be read by a VC partner at a fund, and give them some recommendations, create a table around it, and so on and so forth. And so that's how we get, at the end of all of that, a report like this. All we do is call our main.py file, give it the URL of a startup that we want to analyze. It runs all of the steps that we just showed you, and then it produces this report right at the end of the whole thing. And as I said, all of that work, most of the heavy lifting was done by Parallel's APIs, namely the Search API and the Extract API, which you can find in the dashboard over here. And basically, the way it works is you give it a natural language description of what your goal is. So you're not just giving it keywords. You're saying, here's what I want to achieve. And you can give it as much context as you want, which is what we did when we started extracting data from our target startup, for example, and passing that through Parallel, saying, hey, here's what we're looking for. Here's what we're trying to do. Parallel understands that and creates the right searches for you. And you have a bunch of other things you can play around with, the number of results, like the sources to include or exclude, different types of search modes as well. So go into the dashboard, play around with it, and once you figure out like these different parameters, you can then use that in your AI agent. And the same thing with the extract as well. You give it a URL, and then you give it a objective of what you're looking for, and it figures out what it needs to extract from that website for you. You don't need to build a sort of scraper or any of the scraping infrastructure yourself. Parallel figures all of that out for you.